Happy Tuesday, everybody. This is the Longhorn Confidential for September 26, 2023. I'm Danny Davis with the Austin American-Statesman. As always, I'm joined by the boys, Cedric Golden, Kirk Bowles, Thomas Jones. Thanks for listening to us wherever you get your podcast or watching us on YouTube or statesman.com. Let's get to it. We are a couple days removed from a trip to Waco, perhaps our last ever trip to Waco, unless we're going up there for basketball or volleyball or maybe a baseball game or two. But Texas 38, Baylor 6. Texas improves to 4-0 on the season, 1-0 in conference play. Never trailed in the game. Defense held Baylor to 2 field goals on 6 trips to the red zone. 4 rushing touchdowns for the Longhorn offense, including Quinn Ewers showing some speed down the sideline. Xavier Worthy also had a touchdown catch. So let's just kind of talk a little bit about this game. First question, was Texas that good or was Baylor that bad? Kirk, we'll start with you.
Yes, they were. Both sides of the coin. And, I think the way we talked last week, I'm not the least bit surprised, are y'all? I mean, Baylor's that bad. They don't have a good quarterback who's experienced. Their front isn't very good. They're breaking in basically a new offensive line. And, trying to run against that Texas defensive front is rough sledding. So, I wasn't surprised in the least. I think Baylor may win a couple more games, maybe, depending on injuries and stuff. But no, I think Texas that dominant, and Texas just now hitting their stride.
Said your thoughts. You were sitting right next to me in the press box. What'd you think?
Daniel, they went in there and they played less than perfect, and they still won so easily. Baylor's just not that good, and I worry about Dave Aranda. That 12-2 was great, but was that just lightning in a bottle? They weren't good with Blake Shapen, so they weren't going to be good with Sawyer Roberts. So I think the defense has taken center stage with this Texas team, and they're like the 1985 Chicago Bears. Pretty good quarterbacking, but a defense that's just not giving up anything.
Wait a minute.
They've given up 50 points in 4 games. That is 12 points a game.
Yeah.
In this era, where everybody's chunking the ball around, it's amazing. It is amazing what they're doing on defense. I'm not saying that they're Mike Singletary, refrigerator pair. But I am saying, comparably speaking, a team that's giving up 12 points a game in this era has to be lauded. Now, I did write last week that they've really been fortunate to be playing against some inexperienced quarterbacks thus far, and we're about to find out coming up if they're still as good against one of the better quarterbacks in the league. We'll see.
Yeah, Super Bowl shuffle. I can't wait to see Janae Barrett and X-Man leading the Super Bowl shuffle. I love it.
Yeah, those 50 points allowed, that's the lowest. I don't know about the 85 Bears, but since 08, Texas started the season 4-0 in 08, allowed 43. So this is the best start to the season in 15 years. But Ced's right. I mean, they play a real quarterback this week, Jalon Daniels. Look, Baylor's just the 12-2 season 2 years ago was like Ced said. It was an outlier, and Dave Aranda's firmly on the hot seat. I don't know what difference Blake Shapen would have made. Would have made some, because Sawyer Robertson just wasn't very good, especially against the best defense easily in the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, Baylor wasn't good. Some of their play calling was baffling, and that goes as much on the coaching as it was the players. Just there's a talent gap between Texas and Baylor. But if you're a Texas fan, this is what you wanted to see. You wanted to see them go on the road. Said you wrote about kind of them having a business-like approach on the road at the game. That's what they did. They went in, they took care of business, covered the spread if you were caring about that, and just made it a non-factor by the time. We were riding at halftime. And that's what you wanted to see, especially after that Rice game to open the season and after Wyoming 2 weeks ago. You just wanted to see this Texas team go in, do what they're supposed to do, move on to the next week. And that's exactly what they did. So I think if you're a Texas fan, you're happy. If you're a Baylor fan who left in the third quarter, you're probably a little concerned about your team, but I think this is probably what we expected. There was one thing to nitpick about this 32-point win, and that was special teams. In addition to Bert Auburn missing a field goal, which happens when you're a kicker. We've seen that over the years. There were some issues with the return team. Keelan Robinson muffed a kickoff return, was able to recover it, but both Jordan Whittington and Xavier Worthy muffed a punt return. Both of those were lost. One of those set up a Baylor field goal. On the other hand, Xavier Worthy also had a 40-yard return, so kind of showed what he can do on special teams. But Thomas, on Monday, you asked Steve Sarkisian if he was thinking about making a change in the punt return game with Xavier before you could even finish your question. Steve said no. So we won't ask him. We'll ask the four of us. Do you think Texas needs to be concerned about that and make a change, or are you comfortable with Xavier being back there returning punts? Said you wrote about this a little bit today in your Nuggets, so we'll start with you.
Got to keep him back there because he's going to bust one. He may bust two. He's come close to taking one to the crib, and it's a high risk because Kirk and I have noticed this season that he's let some punts bounce in front of him and put the offense in bad field position where he's got the speed to go run that thing down and catch it. He's not at that confidence level back there as yet. But once he gets his hands on the ball, he's a threat to take it the distance. And there's going to come a time when they're going to need a big-time play in special teams. Duck, you remember 2008 when OU was getting after Texas and Jordan Shipley returned that kickoff for a touchdown and changed the momentum of that game. Special teams so important. And that guy is your most electric playmaker on the team. So anytime you can get his hands on the ball, you got to take that chance, even if it's at the risk of a fumble. So you keep him back there because if he returns one punt for a touchdown, it could be in the OU game, could be in LA, it could be in New Orleans. You cannot have him back there. There's not another guy like him on the team.
It could be in the Super Bowl, apparently. But Kirk, what do you think?
Who was the Bears punt returner in '85? I don't remember. But I digress. No, I agree. I think Xavier Worthy is just so dangerous. And it's funny, he's talking about his confidence. Why wouldn't his confidence be great? Because, to me, he's playing like he did as a freshman. When he had what do you have 12 touchdowns as a freshman receiver, and I think he's going to bust one too. And and he owns it. I love his accountability. When we've asked him about letting some punts drop and give up valuable yardage in field position, and he said, "Yeah, I have," and that surprised me. But he's just too dangerous, and he puts the fear factor into opponents. So I'm a little worried about Bert Auburn, just a little bit. I think he's 7-10, and he never missed short field goals last year. So I'm a teeny bit worried about that. But I love the special teams. They don't give up a whole lot on punts and kickoffs, and
well.
Yeah, Sanders, I think he's fourth in the country or something like that. So that's a huge pickup. So yeah, no, I really wouldn't change anything, but I would tell Xavier, just be your aggressive self.
PJ?
You got to remember a guy like Xavier, he went to East Central High School in Fresno, California. Good program there. He didn't return punts in high school. You look at a guy like Jonte Cook from DeSoto, that really dynamic freshman receiver. He didn't return punts for DeSoto. A lot of these young receivers, they don't return punts in high school. So there is definitely a level of discomfort back there. And Xavier's been very open about that. I don't know. I don't think you necessarily need big plays on kick returns or punt returns, but I do think you need to avoid the bad play. So I would prioritize a reliable fielder. Don't let it bounce, like said and Kirk mentioned. Keep the field position. Play it safe. Does UT have another guy on the team that can do that? We don't know. We really don't, because again, a lot of these guys don't do it in high school.
But Jonte was fielding punts in August when we saw, and I think Odene Mitchell did too, didn't he? I think we saw him, and August that Daniels feels so. But like I said, I mean, Sark was so firm and answered no. So
Oh, yeah.
he's got a lot of confidence in X. I don't think it'll change either. Do you, Danny?
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I get spooked and startled pretty easily, so I'm not going to judge someone who maybe makes a mistake when there's 220-pound guys running 20 miles an hour at them. I can see how that happens from time to time. I'd probably keep X back there. I did like what Texas did, kind of putting Jordan back there too, to kind of have an extra, a little more security though, even though Jordan did muff
That worked out,
too.
yeah.
But I'll just chalk it up to a bad day, since I don't think anyone thinks that Jordan Whittington has bad hands, or that Xavier, even though he does has some drops, isn't a game breaker. I'm just gonna chalk that up to a bad day and figure that Jeff Banks gets that figured out going down the road. I'm less concerned about the muffs and more concerned about the letting the ball roll and not necessarily fielding the balls that they need to field, and losing that field position game. But I figure keep Trotton X back out there until you can't anymore, and then maybe give Jonte Cook or Adonai Mitchell a shot back there. But I don't think Steve needs to be rushing to make any changes based on a bad day in Waco. And if that's the only thing that went bad for them over the weekend, that's a pretty nice little trip up I-35. Let's move forward, talk about this weekend. The big showdown in Austin. Number 3 Texas, number 24 Kansas. Both teams 4-0, both teams 1-0 in Big 12 play that Saturday afternoon. Let's just start off. Jayhawks 4-0, second straight season. Do you believe in the Jayhawks? I know TJ does. He was Kansas was his pick to meet Texas in the Big 12 championship game. I don't think he moved off that based off of one bad weekend. But my son is talking in the background.
And you're good.
TJ, do you believe in the Jayhawks? We'll start there.
I do. I mean, I do think Jalon Daniels, if healthy, he's battling some back issues. I think he's the most explosive quarterback in the Big 12. I think he's the best quarterback in the Big 12. And I like what Coach Lance Leipold has done with that team. They're consistent. They're playing with confidence. I think they're the best skill players in the conference, and that includes UT. So, yeah, I think they're really good. Now, can their defense hold up against UT? I think Texas will score more points this week, but I think they're going to need those points, which they haven't necessarily needed first 4 games of the season. And I do think they'll meet again in the Big 12 title game. I'll call it right now.
Kirk, I think you're riding on Kansas later in the week. Do you believe in the Jayhawks?
I do believe. I don't know if I believe he's the best quarterback. TJ, did you not see the wheels on young Vince Ewers, as Danny proclaimed him? I mean, he was motoring. He looked good. And, I think they're both in the Heisman race right now. I really do. But, yeah, I do believe in Jalon Daniels, and I believe in this Kansas team. They punked BYU, gave BYU their first loss, I think, last week. And again, get this, they scored on all 3 of their 3 second-half drives, and all of them were 10 plays or more. So they bullied BYU. Get this, guys. Jalon threw 4 passes in the second half against BYU, and they still won by 11. And they got a couple defensive scores, I think, one of them really early. And BYU averaged 0.4 yards per carry. That's not too good. That's like 85 Bears stuff, just to pull out a team that I remember. But and yeah, that included sacks, which I think is terrible. NCAA, put sacks on passing yardage, don't put it on rushing yardage. So yeah, I believe in Kansas, and I think they're the real deal. Don't you? 85 Bears?
They call me Fridge, and I'm the rookie.
No,
but I'm no dumb cookie.
We need our own song and dance.
No, we don't.
No, we don't. We sure do not. They're impressive. I like Kansas. They're well coached. Kansas and Kansas State. People used to talk about them, when Snyder started to fall off. But Kansas is going to come in here with a lot of belief. They won the last time they came in here, so they're going to have some belief. Jalon Daniels is electric. That's going to be fun. He's going to have to throw more than 4 times in the second half if they're hoping to get a dub at DK or a duck. But they have a solid defense. Kobe Bryant is going to be all conference. You're going to see 2 of the best secondaries with Kobe Bryant, and then you got Jade Barron and Jaron Thompson. It's got to be fun. I don't know that I've been seeing some predictions online with some really high scores. I don't know if this is going to be a high scoring game. I think this might be one of those 27-20 type games, and I really don't see the Horns blowing Kansas out, but I do see them winning the game.
I'll take the over on that, Sid.
You think it's going to be a high scoring, fam?
Little bit. Yeah, I think in the 30s. I think you'll need to get in the 30s to win it.
Look, I think Kansas obviously has a really good coach. They have a good quarterback. There's some talent on that roster, but for me with the Jayhawks, I'm kind of in a show me state. I think we're not that far removed from everyone that roots for Texas or played for Texas, and me, since I didn't want to go to the Alamo Bowl, rooting for Kansas to beat Kansas State last year, and they could not get it done. They've lost 14 straight to Kansas State. They haven't beat Oklahoma since 1997, I believe. The 2 times they've beaten Texas in recent memory, those may have been the 2 worst Texas teams in the last 30 years. So I'm just not gonna put my eggs in the Kansas basket. I'll be late to the party, and Jayhawk fans can come to my mentions, but I just need to see it to believe it. Like, I'm just not going to say I believe in Kansas because they beat Nevada by 7. Like, that's just not that impressive towards me. I just need to see it before I jump on that bandwagon. If there's not any seats left for me, that's fine. I guess I'll hitchhike to wherever Kansas is going. But I just I need to see them beat some of these marquee Big 12 teams before I call them a Big 12 contender, just because they haven't done it in the past, and at some point maybe they do it, but I'm just not going to predict that. I just don't have as much faith as TJ yet. I'd rather believe in a team like Kansas State who's done it, a team like Oklahoma who's obviously done it, a team like Texas that has the talent and has won some big games in the past couple of years before I just jump on this Kansas bandwagon. But that's just me. And once again, if I'm left stranded on the side of the road, so be it. We talked a little bit about Jalon Daniels. Obviously, Texas has not faced good quarterbacks. Let's just be blunt about it. JT Daniels is a 6-year, journeyman quarterback. Sawyer Robertson, regardless of how good he was in high school, has not got it done at Baylor. Wyoming played their backup quarterback, and Jalen Milroe was his 3rd career start, and obviously adjusting to life at Alabama. So Jalon Daniels will be the best quarterback Texas has seen so far this season. That's no doubt, no debate there. But do you think he's the best quarterback on this schedule? Is there another guy, whether it's at Oklahoma, whether it's at Kansas State, who kind of pops up, kind of catches your attention? Seth, we'll start with you.
Dylan Gabriel. He's lighting him up at OU. And he was lighting him up before he got hurt last year. I think that lefty is going to give them problems in Dallas. And I don't try to get too far ahead, because the Horns trying to go 1-0 this week. That's what I heard through the grapevine. But I think Gabriel is a guy. And I was watching. He threw one pass, 57 yards in the air. I was watching the game. Hit the receiver right in stride. So he's got it going on. Not as electric with his feet as a Jalon Daniels or as a Vince Ewers, but obviously a really good quarterback. So I think while I love me some Jalon Daniels, I think Dylan Gabriel's going to give Texas more problems.
Thomas, are you still going to go all Kansas on this show, or are you going to pick someone else?
No, I'm going all Kansas. I think Jalon Daniels is the best dual threat in the conference. I do like Gabriel, and fortunately for Texas, they don't play UCF this week, because I love me some John Reese Plumlee, and him and Jalon Daniels may be battling for that first team all Big 12 team if Reese Plumlee is healthy enough to play most of the season. But we'll see. It's for sure Jalon Daniels is the biggest threat with his legs since UT played Milroe. So that's going to be a challenge for UT defense this week, I think.
I guess Texas will have to wait till baseball season to see John Reese.
Good outfielder.
Kirk, who's your pick?
Well, don't forget about Will Howard at K-State.
I, yeah,
What? What? He's kind of gimpy. I don't know if
hurt.
he's got a bad
He's
ankle
hurt right
or
now.
foot,
He's hurt.
but and like you said, Plumlee's hurt. Now he's got a leg injury, and I think I'm looking at Plumlee's stats. He's got 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So he was off to a bad start before he hurt his leg. And Timmy McClain, the former South Florida quarterback, came in. But yeah, I think Jalon Daniels is going to be the best quarterback they see. Dylan Gabriel's not a threat to run anywhere close to this Daniels guy. He is that dynamic. So no, I go with JD as the top opposing quarterback.
Perhaps
Danny, I know you picked the Jayhawks, but go ahead.
Perhaps it's because I'm biased towards the Gabriel family, but I'm probably gonna go with Dylan. I would like to see what Oklahoma looks like with him playing. Obviously, he sat out last year's shellacking at the Cotton Bowl, and it'd be interesting. I don't know if he's a 49-point swing, but it'd be interesting to see actually what Oklahoma looked like had he played last year. And hopefully, everyone's healthy and we can see that kind of matchup, him versus Quinn. In Dallas next week, we can actually be talking about that as opposed to whatever Oklahoma trotted out there. So I'm gonna go with Dylan. Obviously, Jalen's really talented, but Texas, did a good job of containing him last year in Lawrence, although he was a little banged up at that time too. But I'll just go with Dylan and the mystery of Dylan Gabriel and pick him. Although I do like Will Howard. I think he gets the job done, although he may not be the most talented out of that group of quarterbacks we've mentioned. He did win a Big 12 championship last year, so cannot overlook that. Jalon Daniels, Big 12 preseason offensive player of the year. The Big 12 preseason defensive player of the year plays for Texas, also named Jalen, although he spells his name Jaylan. Jaylan Ford, linebacker, stud. We like talking to the guy. We like watching him play. But what stands out the most about him and the way he's been playing this season? Cedric, we'll start with you.
His preparation. He's never out of position. He's in the right place at the right time, as evidenced by that end zone interception in Waco. He's been mentored by Derek Johnson, who's the greatest linebacker, not named Tommy Novus, to play at Texas. He's not fleet of foot. He's not Lawrence Taylor. He's not that fast, but he knows where he needs to be. And you rarely catch him out of position. So I like what I've seen. He's quietly done his job. He didn't flash in Waco. It was Kirk and I were wondering, he didn't flash until that interception. But he's doing what he needs to do on a very talented defense. And he's allowed those guys on the other side of him, like David Benn, to have career years. David Benn is off to a great start this season. So I think Jaylan Ford's the glue is holding that defense together. He's a leader, and I just like what I'm seeing, not only from him but his other defensive cohorts.
Kirk, what stands out to you about Jalen?
I like his smarts. He's right place, right time. He knows where he needs to be. He always seems he's there. He was right there for the interception in Waco. Now he could have taken a knee. That wasn't the smartest play he's ever made. And Sark even referenced that. But, like he said, he was just challenging the offense, which came through with a 95-yard touchdown drive.
He's a team guy.
He is a team guy. So I guess he knew what he was doing. So, but what has he got? It's like something like 8 takeaways the last 10 games, 11 games, something like that. So, I don't know if it was you, Danny, or who asked him, like, do you expect to get an interception every game? And he kind of said, well, personally, yeah. And I do too, because he is the right place. And he's not the fastest guy, as mentioned, but boy, he's a team guy, and Texas is lucky to have him.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 6 picks in the last 11 games. His ability to especially kind of dissect a passing game and know what the offense is trying to do. I mean, he knows where to be in the passing lanes. He knows when to drop back. It's his ability to read offense is extraordinary. But really, his ball skills. You don't pick off 6 passes as a linebacker without good ball skills. And he'll admit, I should have had one against Bama too. Just like you guys are saying, a smart player. But really, his ability to drop back, mess up the other team's passing game, is really impressive. Key to that Texas defense.
Yeah, his stats are obviously impressive. I think he's 3 interceptions away from Derek Johnson's school record for linebackers. So that's obviously anytime you're in a conversation with DJ, that's impressive. But look, that defense is a defense full of alphas. It's a defense full of talented players. Jalen Ford's the heart of that defense. So I'm going to pick his leadership. There's no doubt who the leader of that defense is, and that's him. And that's something when you have Jahdae Barons on that defense, when you have Jalen Catalans, when you have Devondre Sweats or Byron Murphy's, that he's the guy that they listen to. That says a lot just about him, his leadership ability, and his character. And obviously, this defense, which is playing very well, as Seth alluded to earlier, it starts at number 41. So I will pick his leadership abilities. Before we get out of here, prediction time. Last 2 times in Austin that Texas and Kansas have played, they've been pretty entertaining games. 2019, 50-48. That was a Texas win. Cameron Dicker, I believe, was a 33-yard field goal at the buzzer to win it. 2 years ago, obviously, if you're a Texas fan, you'd like to forget that, but that overtime game was still entertaining. 57-56, Kansas win. So it was a 17-point spread, which doesn't say much about those last two meetings. So when Texas and Kansas meet at 2:30 at DKR on Saturday, game is going to be on ABC. Do we expect another close one, or is Texas going to cover that spread? TJ, we'll start with you.
Well, look, I'll say one thing about the Texas defense. They gave up a couple of deep balls to Baylor, right? Ryan Watts gave up a couple of deep balls. I think Kansas will test them downfield. I think Kansas will make some plays that we haven't seen against the Texas defense. I do think the Texas offense will score enough to win by 10, but I think that Kansas offense will keep things interesting into the fourth quarter.
Kirk?
I was stunned it was that widespread a line. I really was. I mean, obviously a lot of us and a lot of people think they're legit. I got them in my top 25, but and they can be explosive. They can make big plays, and that's probably been the one thing that can hurt Texas, these big plays, because you're not going to drive 98 yards and 14 plays, I don't think, against this Texas defense. They just been that solid. But Daniels can break one. We all know Mr. Casey. Remember him. This is the Brendan Schooler redemption game. And remember what that's like. But like we've all said, that Kansas is going to come in confident. They've beaten them a couple times 2 years ago and in the Charlie Strong era, so they won't come in intimidated. So I just think I kind of think I like Kansas in the points, but I think Texas ultimately wins by 10 points, I think.
But
like Kansas and the points, man. I got to see that in print. I think that I think Jalon Daniels is going to get off to a good start. They haven't seen anybody like him at that position, and they've been sleeping on silk sheets when it's come to facing quarterbacks. They haven't faced a guy like him, so he's going to test them early with his feet. They're going to test him downfield, and it's going to be interesting first half for sure. I think Texas is going to win, but I think it's going to be like a 34-20 type game. I think they're going to win by 14.
You're taking Kansas in the points too.
I don't gamble. So
that's right. Mr. Vegas, we call him America.
Great shows.
Danny, what
great shows in Vegas.
Even though I'm apparently the biggest Kansas hater here, I thought that 17-point line was a little disrespectful. I think Texas, I think it's probably like a 7-point game. That doesn't seem like a 7-point game. Maybe Kansas gets a late score to make it seem a little closer than it is. But I do believe that this is going to be a competitive game. If you're waiting for that Arch Manning appearance, I don't think it's happening this week. I think Texas and Jalon Daniels just provide a good test for Texas, but I believe we're probably getting that undefeated showdown at the Cotton Bowl next week, and I'm probably not sweating it too much. But, like I said, the last 2 times these 2 teams have met in Austin, it's been surprisingly close, and Kansas won one of those games. So we'll just have to see what happens this weekend at DKR.
Daniel, if the Longhorns blow their doors off, We got to come back here on Longhorn Confidential next week and give them their props because they're way better than we thought they were. And Vegas is usually right. I think Vegas is wrong this time, but Vegas is always seems to be right on that number.
Not always.
Well, Vegas was wrong 2 years ago, but most of the time Vegas definitely knows a thing or two. But the football game, like once again Saturday afternoon at DKR, ABC will be televising that. Not the only show on campus. The volleyball team, number 10 in the AVCA poll, they have two big matches this weekend against number 9 BYU. It's actually Thursday and Friday night, so I guess this week instead of this weekend. Rematch of the 2018 Elite Eight rematch for you hardcore Texas volleyball fans. Texas off to a 2-0 start in Big 12 play after beating OU twice this past weekend. So number 9 versus number 10, that'll be big for both national seeding and also Big 12 position in the standings. I'm sure TJ will be out there. So check out statesman.com for all of his coverage of those matches. Number 14 soccer, they are at home against West Virginia on Thursday. They are at Kansas on Sunday. Two tough losses for the Fighting Ange Kellys this past weekend to rank Texas Tech and BYU teams. BYU was last night a 3-2 game. BYU is kind of conference favorites. That was tough for the soccer team, but we'll see if they can get back on track and get back in this Big 12 race over the next few days. But that's not the only thing we have to tease. We have to tease the On Second Thought podcast. Kirk said, what are we talking about this week? Any big guests coming on?
Tell him, Doug. Tell him.
We're going to get the man himself, Lance Leipold, on how he has rocked America with his Kansas Jayhawks. And we won't tell him we're a hater, Danny. We won't spring that on Lance.
Good guess. Good guess.
I'll make a guest appearance and tell Lance what I don't think about his team, because I don't know if I could say that to anyone's face. I do it better protected by a computer screen. I'm that kind of journalist. But yeah, we're gonna get out of here. You can check out the On Second Thought podcast. It'll drop on Thursday morning on statesman.com or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check out our website for all of our pregame coverage, all of our in-game coverage, and all of our post-game coverage. And we will be back here next week for another Longhorn Confidential. But we thank you for listening to us wherever you get your podcasts, watching us on YouTube. Have a good week, and we'll see you down the road. Deuces.